In this lesson, we will learn about Maya's parent constraint. We can think of a parent constraint like a point and orient constraint combined. So this is going to connect to translate and rotate channels. What we're going to have by the end of this lesson is this car mesh be pulled away by this floating magnet. So let's say we get right to work. We'll head over to our animation module, head over to the constraint menu, and we'll find the parent constraint. Let's go ahead and open up the options, and we'll reset our settings. Okay, so with the default settings, let's go ahead and apply this constraint. So we know our target object must be selected first. That's going to be our magnet control. The constraint object is going to be our car's control, this box curve. All right. With those two selected, we'll choose apply. You can see that the parent constraint has now been added. If we were to take a look at the parent constraint node tied to our car control, you'll find that there's not too much, at least not too much available in the channel box underneath this node. We can control the node state, the behavior of the constraint, whether it's normal, has no effect. The interpolation type, this is for orient constraint blending. If you'd like to learn more about this, feel free to look into our tutorial on the orient constraint. Then we have the parent constraint weight. So as we start to scrub through now, you'll see that we maintain an offset between the car and the magnet, while the magnet still drives the translation and rotation of the vehicle. So that's really neat. All right, let's say we go ahead and take a look at a few other settings we have. So what I'll do is bring the car back to its original space where translation and rotation were zeroed out, and we can get rid of our constraint. If you have trouble getting back to that same frame that you parent constrained on, simply go in and delete your parent constraint. Again, underneath the car control, CC car, just go ahead and get rid of the parent constraint. Select your car control and go ahead and zero out, again, the translate and rotate attributes to bring the car back to where it was originally. All right, so you can see by default, maintain offset is on. We've taken a look at that. Now with this off, the car's going to pop to the same space, the same pivot point as the magnet. So if we were to turn that off, grab the magnet, grab the car, choose apply, you can see, all right, it snaps right to the magnet, which is what we don't want. Instead, we'd want the car to be glued to the magnet itself. All right, so to have that happen, if we were to go ahead and undo, we'd want to grab the silver piece of the magnet and constrain our car to that part of this device. So if we were to parent constrain this correctly, again, we'll want to grab this silver piece, shift select our car control. Let's go to a point where the magnet is right on top of our car, and now we can choose apply. And you'll see that the result is a lot better. This is exactly what we want. A few other settings we have are ones that allow us to define what axes will be constrained, whether it be one axis or several axes, or we can use all to lock down our entire translate and rotate list. And then underneath we have control over our weight. So taking a look at the weight value, if we were to grab our car control, go to our parent constraint node, set this to 0, the car is going to pop back to its rest pose, the spot it was constrained at initially. And you'll see that no longer does the magnet have any control over this mesh. Now, when blending between this constraint, we can work with a pair blend node. So this is how it is created, because what we'll want is for a smooth transition from the car being at its rest pose to it being pulled away by this object. So in order for this to happen, we can go ahead and create, again, this pair blend node. To create it, we'd first want to head over to our preferences. So let's head over to Windows, Settings and Preferences. From there, we'll choose Animation, and we'll want to make sure that our blend mode is set to always blend with existing connections. This will make it possible for us to blend with animation that is directly on top of our constraint. Alright, so let's go ahead and make sure that is saved out. And now watch this. Let's go to frame 40 and we'll press Shift W and Shift E. Now, very important when we are using this pair blend node, which you can see has now been made, in order to blend in translation and rotation, we'll need to make sure we set translate and rotate keys. It kind of gets a little bit tricky because if you only set a translate key, you'll notice that your constraint attributes will still highlight green. So, again, in order to just make sure that we will blend between translation and rotation, set translate and rotate keys. So I've done that on frame 40. You can see that Maya has also created a blend parent attribute. So watch this. As we start to scrub through, notice the magnet has no control. However, if we were to go to the blend parent and start to increase that value, making sure that our actual weight of the constraint is on, we can consider the magnet weight our global weight value. But if we were to go back to the blend parent and start to move that value, you could see that the car is now going to smoothly transition back to the magnet, which is really neat stuff. So let's say we add some animation to this. So we'll decide where the car again should be at its rest pose. That's a frame 40. Let's go ahead and set a blend parent keyframe. And now let's go ahead and decide when the magnet should start pulling the car away. I'd say on about frame 65. So on frame 65, again, we'll go to the blend parent, put in a value of 1, key selected. So now you'll see that the car is starting to be pulled now by the magnet, and it's a very smooth change. It's exactly what we want. So this can be a very helpful animation tool. We could also use it as a rigging tool, this blend parent node. If you'd like to learn more about that, feel free to take a look at our Animating with Props in Maya course. One more thing I'd like to show you, the parent constraint are our offset channels. So you can see that we cannot access them from the channel box. However, if we were to go to our attribute editor with the constraint object selected, we'll find our parent constraint node, and here are our offset channels. So in order to see this effect, we'd first want to make sure the constraint is active. And now we can go to, let's say, our translate Y. I'll hold down Control and start to drag with the left mouse button. You can see we're able to start offsetting things. A faster way to offset your objects, another way we can do that is by using our set rest position. We'll learn more about that in an upcoming tutorial in this reference library series. But again, that's a look at the parent constraint. Again, a great constraint to use for locking down translation and rotation. And we've also learned how to blend with not only the parent constraint, but we can use this for any constraint that directly ties to our transform channels.